This is the worksheet for solving inequalities. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is isolate the x. So you'll notice we have two x's right here, so we're going to need to combine those. So 5x plus 4x is 9x, which is less than or equal to 0. And then to isolate the x, we're going to divide both sides by 9, giving me x is less than or equal to 0, because 0 divided by 9 is 0. So when you go to graph this, here is 0, and it's going to be a closed circle. And because your variable is first, you can just shade the direction the arrow is pointing. Remember, this makes an arrow. It's shaded this way. Okay? Or it would be considered a bracket. So it's either a closed circle or a bracket. The worksheet shows closed circles. Okay? And you can always check your answer by choosing a value on this side and plugging it in for x and seeing if it's true. So if I choose -1, is -1 less than or equal to 0? Yeah, so you know that you're correct. Okay, so here, the first thing I'm going to do is, again, combine like terms. On the right side, I have an x minus 3x, so I'm going to leave everything else the same. -3 is greater than x minus 3x is -2x, and then keep your -1. And now we're going to isolate the x. And when you isolate the x, you're going to treat it just like as if it were an equal sign. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. This gives me -2 is greater than -2x. Divide both sides by -2. And this is the only time that it's a little bit different than an equal sign. If you multiply or divide by a negative, you need to flip the sign. So this is going to become +1, and then I'm going to flip the sign. Notice it was greater, now it's less than x. So 1 is less than x. Okay, so I've got 0, 1, and -1. So it's going to be an open circle because it's just less than. And notice, because your variable isn't first, we're going to shade the opposite way of the arrow. So the arrow's pointing this way. So because the variable isn't first, we're going to shade the opposite way. And again, you can choose a number to check. So 2 would be a number over here. So if I put 2 in here, is 1 less than 2? Yeah, so you know you did it correctly. Now, if you're not using the circles, this would be a parenthesis like that. Okay, so first things first, we're going to distribute the -6. So you have 3 minus 6x plus 6 is less than or equal to 6x minus 39. So on the left, combine like terms. 3 plus 6 is 9. So you have 9 minus 6x is less than or equal to 6x minus 39. So I'm going to add 6x to both sides to get all my variables together, leaving me 9 is less than or equal to 12x minus 39. Now isolate your x. So add 39 to both sides, giving me 48 is less than or equal to 12x. Divide both sides by 12, and you get, what is that, 4? 4 is less than or equal to x. So again, because your variable is not first, we're going to shade in the direction that the arrow is not pointing. So the arrow points this way. Oops. The arrow points this way. So we're going to shade the other way. And it's going to be a closed circle because it's less than or equal to, which would be a bracket. And if you wanted to check a value, you could try 5. If I put 5 here, 4 is less than or equal to 5. That's true, so you know that you're correct. Okay, so first things first again, distribute. This gives me -2 plus 3r is less than or equal to 3 plus 3r. So if I subtract 3r from both sides, it cancels on both sides, leaving me -2 is less than or equal to 3. Now, is that a true statement? Is -2 less than or equal to 3? Yes, it's a true statement. So that means that your answer would be all real numbers, and your graph would just look like this, because it would be the whole graph. Everything would be covered. Okay? All right, again, we're going to distribute first. So we have 8k plus 8 is greater than -4 plus 20k. I'm going to subtract 8k from both sides to get my variables together. So you have 8 is greater than negative 4 plus 12k. Then isolate the k, add 4 to both sides, giving me 12 is greater than 12k. Divide both sides by 12, and you get 1 is greater than k. So when I go to graph it, this will be 1, 2, and 0. It's going to be an open circle. And because the variable is not first, we're going to graph the way the arrow is not pointing. The arrow actually points this way, so we're going to graph this way. And again, if they want brackets or parentheses, this would be a parenthesis. Okay, distribute first. So negative 1 plus 8x is greater than, distribute the 2x plus 24 minus 7. Combine like terms on the right side. So this is 2x plus 17. Now you want to get all your variables together. So subtract 2x from both sides, leaving me negative 1 plus 6x is greater than 17. Now isolate the variable. So you have 6x is greater than 18. Divide both sides by 6. And you're going to get x is greater than 3. Okay, so when we graph, this will be 3, 4, and 2. My variable is first, so we're going to shade the way the arrow is pointing. It's going to be an open circle, and the arrow is pointing this way. This would also be a parenthesis if they wanted parentheses instead of circles. And again, try a number. This one would be 4. Is 4 greater than 3? Yes, it is, so we shaded the correct direction. Okay, so distribute your 2. 2n minus 12 is greater than negative 2n, and then distribute this 2, plus 6n plus 6. Combine like terms on the right side. Negative 2n plus 6n is 4n plus 6. Now I'm going to, get my variables together. Subtract 2n from both sides. You get negative 12 is greater than 2n plus 6. Now isolate your variable. Negative 18 is greater than 2n. Divide both sides by 2. Negative 9 is greater than n. Your variable is not first. Be careful when you make your graph because you're in the negatives. So it's going to be an open circle at negative 9. And because the variable is not first, you're going to shade the direction the arrow is not pointing, which would be this way. And again, this would be a parenthesis if you wanted parentheses instead of open or closed circles. Check a value. If I put negative 10 here, is negative 9 greater than negative 10? It is, so you're good.